In the top stories, Jigo Armstrong named as featured speaker for this year's Prime Minister's Lecture Series. Regionally, Guyana launches counseling platform to assist families of the MV Barima tragedy, and the United Kingdom vows to continue supporting the Ukraine despite threats from Russia. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Major Newscast. Today is Tuesday, 18th August, and I am Jasmine Thomas. Emmy Award-winning journalist Jigo Armstrong has been named as the featured speaker for the 28th edition of the Prime Minister's Independence Lecture Series. This year's lecture series will take place on the 8th of September at 7 in the evening at the Sir Cecil Jacobs Auditorium at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. Mr. Armstrong brings a wealth of media experience, having worked at organizations such as the New York Daily News, Bloomberg, Al Jazeera America, and most recently, MS Now. Despite his many accomplishments, his heart has remained where his story began in Newtown, Bastille, where his early education nurtured his curiosity about people, the wider world, and politics. For the lecture, Mr. Armstrong promises an evening that is both reflective and forward-looking, an invitation to consider the stories we tell about ourselves, the forces shaping our world, and the roles that informed, engaged citizens must play in building the next chapter of our nation. The government is addressing the challenges of land availability as development continues across St. Christopher and Nevis. The issue was discussed during a recent edition of In Focus featuring the Honorable Dr. Joy L. Clark, Minister responsible for Sustainable Development, and Permanent Secretary Shalita Tyson. Officials say the National Physical Development Plan guides the use of land for housing, agriculture, tourism, industrial and commercial purposes. They say population growth and development have increased demand for residential land, while the amount of flat land along the coast has become increasingly limited.
We are a coastal nation.
Yes.
We've done all of the development on the coast. And now we have to appreciate that lands on the coast and flat lands have been exhausted.
Yes, we have exhausted.
And we are planning for this reality. We have been planning for this reality.
Yes.
And it's now to get the people of St. Kitts and Nevis to appreciate
Yes.
that land is no longer flat here on the coast. It's a little bit more mountainous, it's a little bit more expensive, it requires a lot more work on the ministries and the government's end and on your end to develop, but it's what we have available because at some point it would have run out.
The ministry says climate change and rising sea levels are also adding pressure to coastal communities, with some residents being encouraged to consider moving to higher ground. Officials acknowledge that relocation can be difficult for people with long-standing family and community connections to coastal areas.
We're moving many of the people, especially like in certain areas, like in Sandy Point. We have to look, we realize the risk. So we have to be moving some people all road. We've been moving some people from that area as well and taking them up in the higher areas because of what we see is happening and will happen if we continue this trajectory. But let me also mention additionally that one of the challenges we face is that everybody wants to live in the Bastille area. And Ian, it doesn't take any rocket science to see that we have basically run out of Bastille space. And so I keep saying we have to start to think about rural living. Moving.
The ministry is also encouraging greater acceptance of rural living as available land in and around Bastille becomes more limited. Officials say careful land use planning will remain important to balance housing needs, agriculture, economic development, and the long-term sustainability of St. Christopher and Nevis. The St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots will be aiming for their second win of the 2026 Caribbean Premier League when they face the Jamaica Kingsmen at 8 in the evening local time tonight. Both teams are coming off their first win of the tournament, with the Patriots putting in a commendable performance to defeat the St. Lucia Kings by 5 wickets in St. Lucia. In that game, former Patriots captain Andre Fletcher led the way with a man-of-the-match 48-run performance to guide his team to victory. The Kingsmen got off the mark in their fourth match of the tournament with a 5-wicket victory over the defending champions, the Trinbago Knight Riders. Tonight's match should prove an interesting contest, with both teams going for the win to ensure they have a chance at making the tournament knockout stage. On the regional scene, the Guyana Ministry of Human Services and Social Security will this week launch Embrace, a national online counseling platform aimed at providing long-term psychosocial support to families affected by the MV Barima tragedy. Minister of Human Services and Social Security, Dr. Vindhya Prasad, announced the initiative during an interview on the Starting Point podcast on Sunday. Embrace will connect affected individuals with counselors and specialists, including volunteers from the Guyanese diaspora, through confidential audio and video sessions. Prasad said the platform was tested last week and is expected to go live this week, initially focusing on survivors and families affected by the MV Barima disaster before being expanded to a wider population. And the Jamaican government will establish a scholarship at the University of Technology, Jamaica, in memory of legendary track and field coach Stephen Francis. Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Olivia Grange, announced the initiative during a Thanksgiving service celebrating Francis's life at the National Indoor Sports Center in St. Andrew on Saturday, 15th August. Francis, affectionately known as Frano by friends and athletes, died on July 4 following a period of illness. He was 63. On the international scene, Prime Minister Andy Burnham has said the UK will continue to support Ukraine 100% after Moscow warned of consequences following confirmation that British-made drones were used in recent Ukrainian strikes in Russia. We are not fair weather friends. We will be there in Ukraine's hour of need, and that won't change, said Burnham. The Russian embassy to the UK earlier accused Britain of deliberately opting for an escalation of the Ukraine crisis, adding that the deeper its involvement in the conflict, the higher the price it will pay. Ukraine has stepped up attacks on Moscow and elsewhere deep inside Russia, particularly targeting oil refineries and logistics sites for its key online retailer, Wild Berries. And 2 students were killed in a shooting at a high school in the southern Philippines on Tuesday. One of the students was the gunman, and the situation was now under control, officials said, in the second such incident in the country in less than 2 months. The shooting took place at a school attached to the privately run Ateneo de Zamboango University in the city of Zamboango, where the gunman brought a pistol and a rifle onto the school campus and fired at students inside the classroom, according to a preliminary police report. The gunman, a grade 9 student, killed himself. The victim was a male student, a grade above him, police said. We now take a look at the weather. Current conditions across St. Christopher and Nevis: cloudy skies with dust haze and vicinity showers. Winds are a moderate breeze of 14 miles per hour from an easterly direction. The temperature is 28 degrees Celsius or 91.8 degrees Fahrenheit. Seas are 1 to 1.5 meters or 3 to 5 feet. The weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis: the presence of a tropical wave and its associated moisture and instability will heighten the chances of shower activity over and around the islands periodically during the next 24 hours. Weather today: partly cloudy to cloudy skies with a 70% or high chance of showers and a slight chance of an isolated thunderstorm developing. Weather tonight: partly cloudy skies with brief cloudy spells and a 60% or moderate chance of brief passing overnight showers. Sunset today is expected to be at around 6:35, while sunrise tomorrow morning will be at approximately 5 minutes before 6. That brings us to the end of the Midday Major Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more. Thank you for tuning in. I am Jasmine Thomas. God bless you.